Okay, we're back.
No, we're not.
We're back. I'm padding for time.
Are we still recording?
We're so
Yes.
close
Okay.
to being back. Great. Tell me your number 2.
My number 2 is a game I love, and I haven't gone back to play it because I need someone to hit me in the head hard enough to forget everything about it, and that is Inscription.
And I've offered to do that. Inscription, you say?
Inscription.
Okay.
Yeah. Taylor?
I don't know. I know it exists.
Inscription is such a unique game. You're going to have to give some context. Came out a couple of years ago, right?
Probably 3 years
Not
ago.
more than. Okay.
I'm not sure. It is pretty new, though.
Relatively recently, but not new.
Yeah. But it's a video game that eventually warps its way into reality.
It's a fourth wall breaking game.
Fourth wall breaking game. And even to the extent where the creator in the game, you'll find coordinates in the game. And people
I forgot about that.
People went to the actual coordinates.
Like longitude, latitude.
Longitude, latitude on Earth, went to those coordinates and found stuff left behind by the creator.
He had buried.
To immerse the game
Which,
into this reality.
In the game, there is footage of someone burying something, and then the coordinates are somewhere else, but it's real footage of him burying that thing.
Yeah.
And it's
Wow.
crazy.
That is
but
incredible.
the start
That's
of the
cool.
game,
The start of the game, you're in this little log cabin. There's this like tree looking dude, he's got like this big beard.
it's hard to make out his features because it's very
It's dark. It's very dark. There's a few light sources in the room where you can see like some knickknacks and stuff on the walls. And you can actually, I don't think at the very first, but eventually through the game, you can get up out of your chair.
Okay.
You're playing this game that you think is all here on this table.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you can get up out of your chair.
It's Frog Fractions if it was never funny.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And you can move around the room, and there's like little puzzles and things in the room, and you're not quite sure what to do with them.
That's so cool. This game is so
And-
cool.
I was gonna say it sounds like I should just play this game
Yeah.
and not know enough about it.
Really,
almost.
you should. There's so many cool.
There's
things
3
this-
acts in the
Yeah.
game. I wouldn't spoil anything past the first act.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The game goes. Like the whole first section of the game could be its own game, and they could keep. And the fact they do, they make there's like a.
That's like the
addition.
new game plus
Plus.
thing is they went back and added an endless mode to the first chapter.
So you can which is an amazing chapter. You can just keep playing it, and you unlock more content for that first chapter too in endless mode, where you can you get new cards, you can make new decks.
Okay.
But the way the system works in the combat is when you hit the opponent, there's teeth on like a little judge scale that goes up and down, and I can't remember how it goes. If you steal all their teeth,
You have to
or-
get 10 teeth
10
on
teeth.
your scale. So
Yeah.
But teeth are removed when damage is dealt to you.
Yeah.
So if one turn I manage to hit you with my creature cards and deal 5 total damage, you'll get 5 teeth on your side of the scale. But if I'm not careful about planning my defense, when you hit me for 5 next turn, the scale will just turn back to normal. So you have to hit 10 total damage without receiving any damage in return, like a cumulative 10 damage to your opponent before they lose.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's
So
a
the
back
scale
and
is
forth
tipping.
element.
Yeah.
And there's a point in the game where the dude realizes you're going to lose, and he's like, well, we can keep playing if you cut your eyeball out and stick it on the scale. So he hands you I think you pick out a dagger.
You literally
You
take
pick
a
out
knife.
an eyeball later. You take
yes,
he
but
hands you a
first
knife.
you take a knife off the table,
Yeah.
and the whole game is from a first person perspective,
Yeah.
by the way. So you're like sitting at the table looking at the cards, and when you get up to walk around, you are physically moving around the cabin looking at all these weird knickknacks.
Yeah.
But there is a moment where he's like, if you want to keep playing, I'll even the scales. And you even the scales by taking a knife off the table and gouging your own eye out and putting it on the scale to level it back out.
And then right after you do that, he's like, well, do you want another eyeball? And he has a box of eyeballs. And there's one specific eyeball that lets you see new things in the room.
It lets you see invisible writing on
Yeah.
things in the
From-
room. So like
so
there's layers of
You realize
puzzle
you're not
solving.
the first
Sounds
person.
crazy.
You realize you're not the first person to play against this guy in this
Oh,
game.
okay.
He's
I see.
kidnapping people or something like
Yeah,
that.
the insinuation, by the way, is that he's only letting you live as long as you are playing this game with him.
Yeah.
That you're going to die as soon as you stop playing.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's like the tension of this game is there are moments where he'll be distracted or whatever, and you're allowed to get up and leave the table, but then there are moments where you're very much not allowed to do that.
So
And if you solve puzzles in the cabin, it will potentially give you access to unique cards that you can put in your deck.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, where did you get that card? Like, he'll react to you having these cards in your deck and stuff.
And
Yeah.
so it's almost like an escape room sense.
Yeah.
where-
Yeah, actually, that's a good way of thinking about it.
And also, when you first start the game and you draw your first hand, there's an otter card. I believe it's an otter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's talking to you. The card is talking to you. And it's in secret. And the guy across the table doesn't know that you're getting all this inside information from this otter. But this otter's like, hey, if you listen to me, I can keep you alive. And the
I'm going to go back and play this game.
yeah. And when you die, the dude takes a picture of you and then he kills you.
Yeah.
And you become a card in his collection. And you get like stats based on how well you played.
I think they're No, they're not random. They have some
something.
connection to your performance.
You mix like stats of different cards that you were able to make while
That's what it
playing,
is.
and then
Yeah.
you can possibly get those cards on your next playthrough. But you are playing as another person he has kidnapped in his cabin.
Every
playing
time
this
you
game.
lose,
Yeah.
you are like back where you started, but you're not the same person. You're a new victim.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
playing
Yeah.
his
No,
game.
it sounds incredible.
And then
I'll
the
definitely have
game
to-
gets
crazy.
wild.
Okay.
And from there,
Takes
it gets
turns.
weird.
Yeah,
That's right.
they keep doing card-based elements to the game.
Yeah.
But they change the rules up, and the way you explore is totally different.
Yeah.
And then they start breaking the fourth wall.
Okay.
In really cool ways. So it's just a highly
great.
recommended game that is super
Do
cheap.
you
to
just
pick
feel
up.
like I think it's $20 on Steam.
I
It
think
goes on
even less
sale.
than that. If you get it on sale, you can get it for like $2 or $3. It's
Holy
crazy.
cow.
Yeah.
I'll buy you a copy if it's $3.
Cool. Check it out.
What is it about the game that you feel like you just can't recapture?
That sense of like mind blowingness
Yeah.
to that game.
Just you mean the
Just-
first time going through?
Yeah.
I like that all of our number, like as we've gone up this list, all of us like they're ranked. They're totally different games, but they're ranked on the same echelon of like number 2 was mind blowing, and I'm like
Yeah.
number 2 was mind blowing.
Yeah. But
Yeah. I'm gonna write it down for a game that I should play.
well, it might be one of your homework games. So
Okay.
yeah,
Sounds
You
good.
got to at least get through the first
that's
act.
a game we'd love. Jared and I would love to hear your feedback.
Natalie loves that game so much that she likes to tinker with deck building and stuff to the point where she's never gotten past the cabin because she doesn't want to.
Well,
She
once
needs
it
to,
just
and
keeps-
then just
that's
unlock
what I'm like.
endless mode.
Please finish this one fight.
The endless
I'm
mode.
begging you.
If you love the first act, though, the endless mode is fantastic because it only builds on that. And I think it was like fan driven that he made
that he
this.
made that, yeah.
And so he did, and they keep making cards, and you
Yeah.
have new starting decks, so you have a whole new strategy.
Cool. Yeah.
Really cool stuff.
No, it sounds incredible.
But
As someone who only has seen the cover of it, like I've seen the name, and that's
the
that's
trailer
it.
like pulled me in immediately when Jared was talking about
Yeah,
it.
I
And I
never
was
had-
like, man, this looks crazy.
That's wild.
But go ahead, Jared. Number 2.
My number 2 is the absolute epitome of what you guys are talking about with your number 2s. Like being absolutely floored by a game.
Undertale.
Outer Wilds.
Ooh, good. Another good guess. I feel like so many games that we've talked about are just stuff that was so influential to us as kids or as young adults who were forming who we were, like forming our identity and helped to direct our identity. My number 2 is a game that so fully like is who I was. Like it's much more recent, but it's much more about who I was. And when I played that game, putting into words how I already felt about the world and helping me to understand and crystallize my thoughts in a way that allowed me to communicate them to other people, but in a way that was so compelling that I didn't really need to, because I could just say, hey, play Disco Elysium, because that game is so overwhelmingly...
That's the game that is like detective version of Divinity.
Yes.
So in Disco Elysium, it's basically an open world point and click adventure. The art is absolutely breathtaking.
The art is great.
Music is on another level. But more than that, I just cannot overstate how incredible the writing in this game is and how incredible the voice acting.
I've heard
in this
nothing
game
about great
is.
things. It's been on my wish list. It's just been one of
I
those
really
games.
don't know how you'll feel about Disco Elysium because
That's
it is
also
so
another
much.
reason.
It's so you are a cop in this. You are in a country that is a fictional country, but it's a country. I'm trying to make sure I get the order right, but basically, it is a country that within 1 or 2 generations of people has been occupied by a foreign nation in war, and then was forcefully was capitalist, and then was occupied and forced into a communist government, and then forced into there's a socialist regime that tries to take over in a coup, and they fail, and you collapse back into capitalism, basically. And so this nation is just a small collection of people who have experienced everything on the political spectrum, and everybody has their own opinions about what was right and what was wrong, and where they really failed and where they really succeeded. And so it's just this boiling point for all these different political ideologies to be tossed back and forth at each other. And you are a police officer who wakes up in a hotel so hungover that you literally can't even remember who you are. And it's an RPG, so there are all these elements to your personality, but they are uniquely phrased to help kind of communicate the tone of this game, which is like inner empire, is like what you think about the world from your perspective. And the really interesting thing about the RPG system in this game is it is basically every attribute that you can have is a bell curve, where you start knowing nothing about this, like having no intellect, let's say. That there's an aspect of character trait where all it does is let you think of useless facts related to things around you. That's all it does. And the more you raise it, the more likely you are to find clues by accident, because you're just like, I know that baseball card, that's rookie blah 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 in a pawn shop, and you're like, why would that be here? And then it'll lead your character to a train of thought that will lead to some relevant information. If you just keep putting points in that, it will make you obsessed with random facts, where you can't even stay on one train of thought for any amount of time. So
Much like myself.
You can't solve, you can't do anything. Like you become, so all the attributes in this game go from knowing nothing to be very, very useful, and then eventually to overwhelming you. So anytime you try and min-max your character, you'll actually sabotage yourself.
That's so interesting.
And all the attributes of your character are manifested as different thoughts. So if you're thinking about how other people perceive you, it will be like this very deep, like mysterious sounding voice.
Phalanx colors. This is your chance. He's talking. Rip into him with a punch and catch him off guard.
When I saw Disco Elysium, I said, man, this is a game that Jared would love.
Yeah.
And this is a game Ryan and I probably wouldn't like.
Yes. The problem is Ryan has on multiple occasions told me he is not a fan of people just standing around and talking, no matter how compelling the conversation might be to me.
Yeah.
That is just not a type of narrative structure that he finds particularly compelling. This game is just a series of
Combo.
extremely well written, well voice acted conversations, but the diversity of where you go and where you end up is extremely unique. And there's like a scenario where the other cops are always making fun of you, and if you, depending on how you roll, you think it's an increasingly good idea to win this argument to pull out your gun and point it at the other cops. But then another aspect of your personality will be like, don't point your gun at the cops.
Yeah.
Everybody knows how to do that. do what a real cool guy would do and put it in your mouth. So you like put the gun in your mouth, and the other part of your personality is like, listen, I get it. This is super fun and funny. But if you do this, we're never going to be able to have fun again.
Yeah.
Like, you need to think about future fun, because there's like a hedonistic part of your brain that only cares about doing more drugs all the time. So
A shaggy-looking girl in her late teens or early 20s kneels on the ice with an electronic contraption in her hand. Hearing you approach, she looks up.
Oh, hello there.
It's cold out here, but she's not wearing a hat. She must be freezing. Everyone knows drugs make you invulnerable to cold. You bet this one likes to party.
What?
it's like trying to talk you out of it so that you can go do more drugs.
Right.
Like, that's the kind of tone of this game. And it's like that all the time, except it never in the same way.
This game's too
Gotcha.
real for me.
That's what I'm saying. This game is exceptionally real.
Yeah.
But also it's getting a sequel, and
Oh wow, I didn't know.
I didn't know that either.
the studio that made it, everyone quit because the they got bought by some other publisher, and they were like, could you stop being so mean to capitalism? And they were like, not really, that's kind of the point of the game. And they were like, well then we're just going to make you be nice to capitalism. So they all just quit
We'll go
and
over here and
protest.
start our own paper company.
So Disco Elysium 2 is going to be
Nice.
absolutely nothing like Disco Elysium 1. But it was
that's a
so
shame.
successful because it won a bunch of game awards.
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff.
absolutely. No, it's like one of the highest rated games of all time.
We are
Then
moving on
we're
to
up to
Taylor's
number one.
Number one.
Taylor, tell us about this game. that
Dang, Taylor, don't be so
defines you.
excited.
This is the reason you married your wife.
This is
The reason you have a kid and the reason you named your kid the name that they have.
Everything
That's
in
right.
your life that led to this moment started with this
it's
game.
the reason.
started with this game. It started with the end of the PS3's era. It was the swan song of the PS3.
Onimusha?
Gosh, I wish. Last Onimusha was on Onimusha Dawn of Dreams, which was on the PS3.
I thought about a Togi a lot for this list.
Togi is great. Xbox original.
I can't think of
still
what
own
this
it.
would be.
I don't know what this would be either. I'm just throwing stuff out
really?
there.
Oh, okay. Well, last one, strong narrative. It's about a guy and a young girl, and they go explore the wasteland.
Oh, yeah.
The Last of Us.
The Last of Us.
The Last of Us.
Interesting.
Last of Us.
Also
Yep.
a more modern game.
It is exactly.
It's
But
yeah.
that game is like,
Talk about storytelling.
Hot off the
Yeah.
tails of Disco Elysium,
Yeah.
I think that game might be too dark for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Last of
I have
Us?
not
That's a-
played The Last of Us.
Oh, you haven't played it.
I have not played it.
What?
really?
I know a lot about it.
Oh, I'm sure you do. I feel like you would probably
By osmosis, but I've
Yeah.
never played it.
deep dive.
I've never
into
seen the
it.
show.
Yep.
About to watch it, though,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah, go ahead. Let me know what you think.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Anyways, go on.
I'm glad that there's different mediums for it.
Yeah, but I mean, how can you beat the storytelling?
yeah, just the original one.
That's why I feel no.
Apparently, there
One of the
are
most
a
beautiful
few scenes in
narratives.
the show that are changed for the better, according to the general pop.
Yeah. I do think they definitely expanded on some things.
But
I
we're
wouldn't
not
say
here to talk about the show,
changed
Taylor.
it.
Tell me
Yeah.
about your games.
So, man, even just the opening of that game, I don't think I've ever.
That opening, I showed my mom. It was so crazy.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. The opening of that game, it's got Joel. I think he's in probably late 30s, early 40s. He's got a young daughter. I think the wife had already passed.
Yeah, his daughter's like a teen.
She dies in childbirth, right?
I don't remember.
Don't remember.
I think that's the
anyways.
TV show. So ahead.
So, anyways, Joel gets a phone call from his brother Tommy. Said, "Hey, there's some stuff going on," and then he leaves. Right, and then so you wake up as the daughter, and so you're exploring the house. It's nighttime, and that is something that I think that we can all relate to. Is like you wake up in the middle of the night and everything's dark. You know what I mean? And so you're kind of exploring. You're hearing some sounds, and you're kind of probably freaking out. You know. Anyway, so she goes downstairs. Someone, an infected person.
She sees the news first on the TV.
It is, right? Yeah.
And there's the explosion on the news, which is live.
Yeah.
And she sees the explosion through the window.
through
which
the
was a
window.
cool scene.
Yeah, at the same time.
Yeah.
You're right. And so, and then of course she goes downstairs, She doesn't know what the heck's going on. Here's a dog barking. Then she sees this guy, and they've got those glass pane doors, sliding doors, and their neighbor is like feral, foaming at the mouth, and then obviously busts through, and she's freaking out, and then her dad comes and saves her. But anyways, towards the end, she gets shot, she dies, and then you wake up like literally 20 years later.
Basically coming off a bender, just like this.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
interesting.
Yeah. 10 years
And you're
later,
a racist, right?
10
No, but
years
you
later,
can be.
10 years later, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's gone through some stuff.
He's obviously aged.
Yeah.
Probably not as much.
Probably not a good guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you do what you got to do to survive.
Yeah, he probably looks a lot older than he actually
Then this
is.
young girl, probably 14 years old, gets dumped on him, and you find out that she can't get infected. And so he's trying to take her to this group of people who think they can find a cure. And then the game just goes crazy. And but man, the combat,
The exploration, the combat,
Yeah.
the storytelling.
the combat, it's just like this visceral, brutal combat, which feels so very like just realistic. It's something that you would actually do, because that's one thing that's
The
frustrating.
combat makes sense
Yeah.
in the real world.
When there are survival horror games and you can't have,
I would throw bottles.
you
if I
would
were-
throw
if I were a
bottles,
girl.
2x4, literally anything. In survival horror games, when you can't, all you can do is hide. That drives me absolutely insane, because that's not realistic at all. You would find something.
I mean, depends on your fight or flight, but
I'm more of a lover.
I'd
than
like the option.
Can I love these guys?
Yeah, that's right.
They never
So,
give me that.
There's another podcast somewhere else where someone's saying like, you can't hug a single one of them. How unrealistic is this game?
But you know, zombie. It's such like a trope. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah,
there's
zombies are so fundamentally uninteresting to me.
Right.
It takes a huge spin on zombie lore to make
Yeah.
me interested.
It's like this fungal infection, and I don't know, man. It's just the story is so compelling because you take two people who are vastly different. You know, one's very optimistic, one's already jaded by the world. You know, he's already done some stuff, and you have this young girl who's experienced something that this is her world. She doesn't even know what the past world will, you know, the normal world, our world, look like.
Is this really all they had to worry about? Boys, movies, deciding which shirt goes with which skirt. It's bizarre.
Get up. We're leaving. Come on.
And if I say no?
Do you even realize what your life means? Huh?
The music, the story, there's some crazy twists that happen that you don't see coming. Some incredibly compelling moments from those characters, and just an emotional level that I don't think I haven't experienced
I couldn't
in the
put
game
that game
since.
down. I couldn't put it down.
Yeah, and then you have the sequel, which just is, I wish I could erase my memory for different reasons. 'Cause it's just
It's not good.
I remember I never played the sequel because of your comments on the sequel.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just they
Also,
didn't have the
I
same
don't know,
writers.
Do you feel like narratively it just didn't?
Oh, dude, they just did. The problem is when you take characters from a series like Star Wars, The Walking Dead, and they're like legacy characters that you built off and these people fall in love with, and then you totally betray the character and what they would do. That totally, you're just going to lose the audience.
I
Because you
100%.
have
Character
to-
consistency is like
you can
top.
subvert expectations with still respecting the audience and the character.
Like you can kill a character.
You can kill a
just do
character.
it in a way that makes sense for that
for
character.
the character. Yeah, and they do a lot of. I just wanted to do it.
Nice shot.
Basically, it subverted
You won't
expectations.
see this
Yeah,
coming, baby.
Yeah.
exactly.
I
And it
do
doesn't make
like
sense.
when a character makes a decision you're not expecting, and then it's explained way
Right,
later
why
as a
they would
twist.
do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
I'm
that's
fine with
really
that, but I'm assuming you finished the game and were not swayed.
cool. I know a big
Oh, no.
spoiler in the second one, but I'm pretty sure it happens right there at the first.
Right there at the first.
Right at the beginning, and it makes no sense, and it betrays everything about the character.
Yeah.
And it doesn't respect the audience at all.
And you probably bought this game because of that character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, that's my number one.
Yeah. Such a good game.
Such a good game. I wish I could go back and
Just
And
across
so
the board,
I think I
overwhelming.
caught where you said that the writers are not the same writers for the second one.
yeah. One of the writers is
Okay.
and he wrote just the second one,
Okay.
but he was too caught up in his own that he didn't feel like he passed the drafts around to other people. Be like, what do you think about this? So
Interesting.
it's a shame. It is a shame.
It is a shame.
Because the combat in the second one is amazing.
The first one, on the other hand, modern classic.
It is.
Okay.
I could go back and play that game for sure.
Oh, well, then it shouldn't be on the list.
But if I forgot my memory of it, it would be a better experience.
That's right. All right, Ryan, what you got?
Let's change the tone a bit and choose and go to my number one.
Is it jazz punk?
No. It is Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh, nice.
Banjo Kazooie.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's
Amazing.
such an incredible segue to my number one. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, God.
I just wanted to shift the tone from what I knew would be dark into
Is that not
what
really
is
your number one? Or
The
is it-
biggest joy of my life.
Yes.
Banjo-Kazooie.
Now, you
love
mean specifically nuts and bolts, correct?
That 360 exclusive.
I think it was a YouTuber, Dunkey, talking about Nintendo's excuse to make Nuts and Bolts 2 was Tears of the Kingdom.
It's so close.
That's right.
So funny.
Just mod banjo in there instead
Banjo.
of Link.
Man.
Banjo-Kazooie is very close to my heart.
Tell me
And
about your
The
experience.
reason I want to forget everything about it is because I can't get immersed in that game anymore because I beat it in an hour.
Yeah.
I can play that game in an hour and 100% it. I know where everything is. I know where all the missions are. I know how
That's
to
the
get-
burden of being a
Yeah.
child, is you have so much time to play the
Yes.
game.
I played that game so long, I would spend all day in one world and just hop around and have fun.
Yeah.
And
That's so crazy. I don't think I am literally capable of that level of unbridled joy anymore.
yeah.
No matter
And
how
that's-
good, like even Breath of the Wild, I would
Yeah.
never just wander. Like I'm always looking for
Something.
And video games,
Something.
I don't have that in video games anymore. And I
Yeah.
think that's just
Yeah.
being a child.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to forget this game is to see.
Yeah, you have bills now.
Yeah. It's
That's a real problem.
I want to see nostalgia go away and play this game for the first time.
Yeah.
But Talon, I talked about Banjo-Kazooie a ton, and I think Talon played it because of me.
Correct.
Okay.
I had played it on the N64 a long time ago, and then you were like, Banjo, do Banjo.
It was Super Mario. Or
And
Mario
then I
64.
played it on the 360.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had that
and
rare
I was
replay.
like, man. And I kept on coming back to him and be like, dude, this game is so good.
It slaps.
I can't believe it's so good.
And can you
the
imagine
music
that experience?
and just-
But as a kid,
as a
playing
I
that,
agree. Yeah.
it's
absolutely incredible.
It's the only game that mattered for a
incredible.
big chunk of my childhood.
Incredible.
I didn't. People were talking about other games. Doesn't matter. I played Banjo-Kazooie for the 6th time.
yeah.
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 Yeah, getting all the Genjos, the puzzle pieces, the musical notes.
I'm just imagining you on the playground, and kids like, "Have you played Mischief
you
Makers?" And
eaten
you're like,
any-
"Literally, shut up right now."
You look like you need food. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Banjo or Get Out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Banjo-Tooie came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Banjo Kazooie. Yeah,
It's just Banjo-Tooie.
They could have made Banjo 3.
And
Banjo
it
Kazooie.
had all the charm there. Like, even just as a kid, you had a nostalgic feeling like, oh, I'm playing another Banjo game. This is amazing.
how do you remember how far apart those games were?
Quite a bit apart. They're both on the N64, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One was towards the middle of the N64, and then towards the end.
I'm
of
just
the
wondering,
N64.
like I feel like at
could
that
not
stage
give
of
you
your
a
life,
year.
things change a lot. Like,
Yeah.
you play Banjo Tooie until you literally don't even.
Yeah.
You could do it with your eyes closed, but then Goldeneye comes out, and then the next Banjo Tooie comes out, and you're like, it's just not the same.
Banjo-Tooie was...
I have blood on my hands.
Banjo-Tooie had a problem with, I'm going to go to this world, and then there's so much of this stuff in this world I can't do yet because I don't have the right stuff.
Yeah.
Or there's like an NPC in the thing that wants an item from a world that's 10 levels later, and you got to remember that guy wants that thing 10 levels later, so you got to grab that item, walk your way all the way back to this other place to give this guy this item, and it's necessary. It's absolutely necessary to progress the game. It's not optional things.
I ain't getting bonus stars out of this.
Not everybody knows how to do everything. Driving isn't the only thing. Just move your car. Okay. I don't know how I can. Oh my God, just grab the steering wheel. Fine. Ow!
No.
And it's
That's really a
chore.
shame.
And I've never beat Banjo-Tooie to this day,
Yeah.
which
That's
is crazy.
That's sad.
Because
We should play it. We should beat it.
The combat,
Just to say we did.
the combat in Banjo-Kazooie, I feel, is definitely for its time was pretty great.
Yeah.
You unlock new moves, which allowed you to traverse differently and fight differently.
Yeah.
And that was cool.
You get to hear a bear and a bird.
But it, like the thing, you had progression that was stopped because you didn't have a certain skill, but it was very memorable.
Yes.
Like I really want to go to that area, but I can't because I don't have the jump move unlocked.
Right.
I get the jump move. What am I doing? I'm going back to that.
I'm
area
going
first thing.
straight to that area.
And then you jump up there, and it's a whole new world to explore, and a whole new section to go through. And there's like 3 more worlds over there.
Yeah.
And each world is crazy cool. Every world is rememberable.
Yeah.
It's just everything about the game is charming.
Yeah. It is,
Yeah,
is-
that game
is the way
definitely
to
was
put it.
like brimming with charm.
Yeah.
That game
is charming.
absolutely.
The soundtrack, and I was a kid at the time, and I didn't realize what an impact soundtracks had, but it was definitely impacting me as a kid because I'll hear some music and it's like the first 3 notes of it. I'm like, that's a banjo song, and then it shifts. I'm like, that's not a banjo song.
I'm that way with, and it turns out it's
Yeah.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
That's just my brain having those notes hard boiled
Yeah.
into them.
Well, one thing about banjo is that, like you said, I would rather play banjo over Mario, Mario 64. You know what I mean?
I love Mario 64.
I do too. It's a great game.
But the combat
However-
feels so much better.
Yes. Yes.
Is that what you're
Banjo
gonna say?
feels like it's already.
Yeah.
It was already better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you get more diverse. You get the moves, but I feel like even just like a masterclass of the level design, because everything feels so different, and the music that encapsulates that, it's just they perfected it the first time. I think Banjo 2 is almost kind of like bound to disappoint. And I think they tried to do too much with Banjo 2, and it just like didn't work.
When a game is that good and you are making a sequel in that kind of time frame,
Yeah.
you're almost destined to iterate.
Right.
And that's usually at best you're like, oh cool, more of the same.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what you're hoping for.
And I found out in Banjo Tooie, the mine level, you're in this like mine shaft, and the mine carts are they're alive.
Yeah.
That is a scrapped level. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's a scrapped level from Banjo Kazooie.
Ah, okay.
And I was like, when I found that out, I was like, oh, that's cool. I get to play some cut content from Banjo Kazooie.
Give me the director's cut.
And now it's like, oh, no, I see why they cut it. It was smart.
It was
Yeah.
smart.
And
to
Banjo
cut it.
Tooie is like, we need
Your-
content.
Your first lesson in
Right.
game design.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
nope, you should have kept this one in the drafts,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine as a level.
Yeah.
And Banjo Tooie does some really cool things. You've got like the T-Rex you can turn into.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. Transformations, which are incredible.
Mumbo Jumbo, and then there's
Turn into a pumpkin.
there's like the
Now I'm
pumpkin
intrigued.
level. That's
Exactly.
in Banjo Kazooie. The Halloween level is amazing.
Seasonal levels are amazing.
I love that level. The final level is the best level where you're a bee.
Where you're a bee. Yeah.
The seasons change.
Oh, I think you're thinking of the classic Buck Bumble.
Nope.
Nope.
The name is actually slipping my mind for the last level.
I don't remember. Honeycomb something, maybe?
I don't know, but this is good podcast.
That's good air. But it's in a fantastic level where the season changes and you come back, and it's like, I guess they did it way better than Breath of the Wild did with Tears of the Kingdom.
Of
where
course. Of course they did.
It's fun to explore this world in a different season because
Yes.
there were things you remembered you couldn't do because the season had to change. Like that
There's
water
ice
needed
in
to
the
be
way.
frozen, or the ice needed
Or
to be
not in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Incredible game. I didn't think it was going to be your number one.
100% a surprise for me.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I did it.
I secretly hate Banjo.
Yeah. I just changed it at the
I
last
played it because
minute.
it was the only one I owned.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I actually like
Yeah.
the Game Boy Advance Banjo Kazooie game.
Yeah, the Pilot Wings or whatever.
Yeah. Nuts and Bolts also is, I think, underrated.
Yeah.
Nuts and Bolts is
Yeah,
underrated.
I played it with
100%.
my sister. I think
Yeah.
it is underrated.
I played that game with
It
Natalie,
wasn't what
and
I
it's great.
wanted, and therefore disappointed me.
Yes.
But if you get past that,
Yeah.
it's
fun.
pretty good.
Pretty fun time.
Felt great. The physics in that game. I love games with physics. If you couldn't tell by Bad Company. So
Yeah.
Banjo Kazooie got that game for my birthday.
So did I.
Is this how you're going to segue into your number one?
Yes.
It's his number one too.
Got that game for my birthday.
It was actually Banjo Tooie, but
I'm
changed
just
it at the
preparing
last
myself for the shade that I'm about to receive.
He's going dark. You guys need to find some joy.
Banjo-Kazooie got that game for my birthday. Played that game.
Are you going to say 007?
To this day, I do not understand what went wrong. I do not understand what went wrong. But something happened somewhere. I don't even remember. I said that game is too hard. And I told my dad, this is very rare occurrence, that as a kid, I was like, you just kind of deal with things. If a game is not good, you're going to have to play a lot of a not good game, son.
Yes.
But
You can't go outside and play. You have to play the bad game.
Yes, you're not getting another game.
Yeah.
Right.
So I got this game, but I got it for my birthday. And so I worked up the courage to say to my father, Dad, I think this game's too hard. Can I get a different one?
Jeff
And my
Forshaw.
dad, knowing absolutely nothing about video games, was like, okay. So we go to Walmart. We're at the customer service. The clerk, my dad, does not have the vocabulary, is not equipped to deal with this specific situation. Is trying to explain
Gives him a car metaphor.
that there's nothing wrong with this video game. My son just thinks it's too hard.
I, in fact, love it.
And and he keeps going on about how funny the bird is. And I'm like, Dad, shut up about the bird. He asks her if I can exchange it. And she is too overwhelmed with life as an adult.
She
should
hasn't
be
played Banjo
to
Kazooie.
care at all.
Yeah.
And so she's like, sure, you can. And this is back, I don't know if you remember when Walmart's had all the games in a huge display that was like 8 feet tall.
Yes.
And you could play the games.
You could play the games.
And you would kill your neck.
And you would kill your neck, but it was
That's
worth it.
That's why we have so many issues.
Of course. Has nothing to do with cell phones.
That's right.
So I'm like half not expecting to be able to get a game anyway. I'm there, and now I'm on the spot, and my dad is like, get the game you want, and I don't know what game I want, so I'm just looking at the boxes.
Iggy's wrecking balls.
It's like an amped up version of being at the rental place. I'm like,
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
And
for
so
time.
This will affect me for the rest of my
so
life.
yes, exactly. So like on the spot, I'm like, the one that's gold. Just give me the one that's gold.
Was that Pokemon Stadium?
No idea what this game is. I literally pick it because I am panicking, and it's a big shiny gold box. And that is how I found my
Majora's
number one game of all time.